In this one, we're going to talk about our horizontal stack. And we'll specifically talk about a thing called tri-cuts, or sometimes called chi-cross, depending on who you're playing with. The basic setup of a horizontal stack, usually often called a hoe stack or an H stack, is we'll have our 4 cutters across the field and then 3 handlers in the backfield. A lot of times these cutters we will call A, B, C, and D to clarify which one is going. So if the force is flick and the center handler has the disc, the way the chi-cross or the tri-cut works is that pairs of cutters will cut together in about a triangle shape, where the open side person will cut in while the more break side person cuts deep. Then the open side person clears out and the break side person cuts deep. So to show with cutters B and C, the sequence will start with C cutting in at the same time as B is cutting deep, not crazy deep, but somewhat deep. And then C will kind of clear out during that same time that B is going deep. And then once C is cleared out, B can cut in all the way down. And as B is cutting in all the way down, C is cutting out. And then after B cuts in, B is going to clear out across the field, and C will cut down. So they both make this triangle shape. And then, for instance, if C cuts in and gets the disc here, then B is already out deep and maybe can immediately get the throw from C. Or B can make the in cut and C has an easy throw. So I'll just show that sequence one more time. C comes in and across at the same time as B goes deep. And then what we have is B is deep down here and C is here, now that they've finished that first cut. And so B is going to make the in cut because now B is more on the open side, and C is going to make the deep cut because now C is the one who's on the break side. Then after they make those cuts, B is going to get out of the way over to here, and C has this open lane to the break side, has the open side cut, and B has the break side cut. That's the basic idea of a tri-cut. And then the same thing will happen if the disc is, if someone else has the disc. So if the disc is over here, you get the same sequence where D is now the one cutting in and across, and C is the one cutting deep first. And then as C cuts in, D can go deep. In that same triangle shape with those two people. The important thing is that we cut in on the open side. So if the force changes, that means if they change to a force backhand, then let me finish this up. If they force flick here again, then it's B that's running this in and across, and A that's running this deep first, and then in, and then B will go deep. If the force changes, and now the force is backhand, then B would be the one to cut in first and then across. And then C would go deep and then in. So it's always in on the open side. Whichever throw that the handler can more easily throw, the throw they're being free to throw should be the in cut, the person who cuts in. And that is the basics of post-stack and the try-cut. I guess one other clarification is that usually after the cycle goes through like once, so after everyone's gone through, the handlers are going to want to reset the disk, because again, we should reset the disk around 4, install 3 or 4, and so we'll only get about 1 cycle of these cuts in 4 seconds. And so when that happens, the disk will probably go to more to one of the sides, not always, but a lot of times. And so then it'll be a different pair of people cutting. And so if you're a cutter in this situation, don't get so tunnel vision on making your triangular cuts that you lose track of who's actually holding the disc, because it might be that you're no longer the person who should be cutting, or it might be that in the time that the handlers are working a reset. So say these people have, B and C have made some cuts and are, I don't know, maybe C's deep here and B's right here, because they've gone through a full cycle of it. If now this reset handler wants to make like a cut to here to reset the disk, we don't want C coming all the way down in here. And also, if this handler here is just like looking at that guy, is just looking this way, then there's not a big need for C to make this crazy cut in if the handler's not even looking at him. So in this case, if the handler turns to look to reset the disk, B and C can just get in, you can just kind of come back to your stack and rest for a second while the handlers do their thing. And then once the handlers have made the pass, we can go back to running our cuts.